So we are here in the middle of the beautiful Keppler Nature Sanctuary, which was very generously donated by Hans and Christine Keppler, who live in Peterborough, Ontario. This is a just under 300-acre property near Chandos Lake, and it is absolutely gorgeous. The Keppler family stumbled upon this property one day. They were out walking with their two daughters and got lost in the woods coming from their cottage. Just realized how beautiful and breathtaking it was and decided that they wanted to see it protected. And so they purchased it and managed it for a number of years. For the most part, left it alone. And you can see that now. This is a forest that's pretty much undisturbed by humankind. There's tons of biodiversity, tons of different habitats in this property, lots of different sightings of moose and deer. We had volunteers come out to the site and do surveys and visits to understand what's on the ground here and what's in the air. And in a single visit, they identified over 40 species of birds on this site, which is incredible for just one visit to the site. And we think that as we have more of our volunteers come out with their expertise, we're going to discover even more that's possible.
Is that an osprey? I think so. The Keppler property is 288 acres, and probably about a third of that is wetland. There's a heronry on the property, so a number of herons nesting in the wetlands. And we've certainly seen a lot of evidence of moose and deer spending a lot of time here. Lots of piles of scat and lots of antler rubs like the ones here. Every year, of course, a moose needs to get rid of its antlers and shed them for the season. And one of the ways that they sort of agitate their antlers off and get the velvet off during the fall is to rub their antlers on trees. And it makes really distinctive marks like these ones. And you can find these all over this property. On the property, there are some beautiful, mature, mixed lowland forests, so areas where water is pooling, and that determines a certain forest type. So you've got a lot of hemlock in these areas, like the trees behind us, and a lot of golden birch trees and red maples. So another one of the really exciting features of this property, I think, is all the vernal pools throughout the forest. And these are little temporary pools that fill up with water in the spring from snow melt and spring rains. And these are really important habitat features for things like salamanders and certain types of frogs. And they can lay their eggs safely in these little ponds because there's no fish predators because they disappear by the spring. There are a couple weeks when the salamanders are in here. Something I really love is that what they'll do during their mating rituals is they'll actually sort of rub snouts on each other, which is pretty much the cutest thing you can imagine a salamander doing. And then they'll lay their eggs attached to little pieces of dead wood in the pond. And so they need these little areas to anchor their eggs. And a little pond like this on a protected property we know will be free from disturbance, and it'll be an area that salamanders and other species can use into the future. And then you've got a lot of areas of upland forests as well, dominated mostly by sugar maple and big rolling hills. Forests like this is where we've heard birds like scarlet tanagers that are area-sensitive species. So that means that, if this property were sort of less deep and closer to the road and closer to development, closer to houses, a bird like this wouldn't actually be able to go through its life cycle. So I think this area actually emphasizes really well one of the features of this property, which is the abundance of dead wood. It's beautiful for habitat. You've got the really large trees that are broken up off at the top that are beautiful sort of cavities for all sorts of overwintering birds, flying squirrels, things like that. And then you've got things that are a little bit further along in the decaying process that are just apartments for insects, basically, and tons of little woodpecker holes and other animals eating the insects that are living in these. And then a little bit further along in the process of decay, you've got these trees that are really just melting into the forest floors, that are creating this rich and amazing soil through the decomposition that's created by the mushrooms and the fungus. These also create just beautiful habitat for small rodents and amphibians. Whenever I'm in a forest like this, I like to think about what it's going to look like in 200 more years or 300 more years, and we can have with certainty in the ownership of Kawartha Land Trust that this forest will continue to grow and mature and provide habitat for wildlife. And that makes me really happy.